Ocho sambo pagyo trashi pa tuche tempe trinle yarngoda pelge drolor zambe ze parche pande lame shabla solvade Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Monisha Sani Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Omo A Guru Vajradhara Sumati Monisha Sani Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Monisha Sani Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Omo A Guru Vajradhara Sumati Monishas Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Monishas Anekar Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om A Guru Vajradhara Sumati Monisha Sani Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Monisha Sani Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Monisha Sanekar Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Monisha Sanekar Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Monisha Sanekar Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Monisha Sanekar Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Vajradhara Sumati Monisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhad Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om A Guru Vajradhara Sumati Monisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om A Guru Vajradhara Sumati Monisha Sane Karma Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Monisha Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumati Monisha Sanekar Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Dhagi Jetsun Lama Tuje Che Nyamda Dala Tuje Siksu So Gebe Shesan Dala Tendo So Uyon Sungi Nawa Tsedo So Seji Ningne Solwa Debe Tse Dechen Korlo Visu Lekshune Yela Sambe Dödön Malöpa Gemel Hünge Drupra Chingelo Soni Sodan Dikdön Shapetse Düngenam Keyin Su Lekshune Lapchen Soni Yonsu Tsopadan Chiranye Dün Chamra Chingelo Chancho Pargi Ninsen Tukun Tu Nyu Peme Siodru Lekshune Chancho Drube Gegen Kunshishi Düngen de la Drupra Chingelo Dagi lona chola chokpadan chemin samjur ngemba shiwada chodan tumbe dudun malupa beme lunge drupra chingelo dorna tingne tsera tamchedan techi pardo nekav tamchetu rese kyamne lama kele me tukche chingi dala siksu sol gongyab drewe nyamda dachala jitsun lame tuche rabgongne Kudan Sungi Nawa Dralmetu Nyam Sunyongwe Kesan Toprasho Kewa Kundu Yanda Lama Dan Drame Cheki Pela Longchechi Sadan Lamgi Yente Rab Dorje Changi Kopa Nyur Tobo Sho Pakyuke Kudan Dagelu Pakyuke Sungdan Dage Nga Pakyuke Tugdan Dage Ten Yerme Chikto Chingi Alo Makyuke Kudan Dage Lu Makyuke Sungdan Dage Nga Makyuke Tugdan Dage Ten Yerme Chikto Chingi Shipuki Choshimeto Tramare Ravalingashi Niedegeampadi Tange Shinto Mikte Ulowarki Drokunamda Shingla Chopar Shoyidam Guru Ratna Mindrala Kam Niryatayami Sangye Chodan Sogi Chonam La Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchra Sangye Drupar Sho Sangye Chodan Sogi Chonam La Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchra Sangye Drupar Sho Sangye Chodan Tsogi Chonamla Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchra Sangye Drupar Sho.
In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. With the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I obtain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge unto enlightenment through the practice of generosity and the other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Namo Yalhaye Keda Ludane Jinke Drupundada Mikenamdam Drowa Quinke Dranama Chitsampa Tamche Keto Dagi Cheten.
One of the most important aspects in our lives, generally speaking, is faith, trust. It's the basis that allows for us to have various relationships, be it at work or in the family. Everything that we do, at the basis of that is trust. To do something well with someone, at the foundation, we need trust. And the same is true for ourselves. If we leave for a trip, we need trust in ourselves that we can make it. I mean, this is really one of the most important aspects that exists. It's like when we go to a doctor. To be able to start a healing path, first of all, we need to believe that we can heal. And we also need to trust the medicine and the healing process. And also trust in he who gives us the diagnosis. If we go to a doctor and we don't trust him, if there's a lack of trust in the doctor or in the medicine or our own ability to heal, it would be very difficult to heal. We won't take the medicine well, we won't follow the advice. We think, oh, well, this is tiresome, and in any way I am not able to be cured, so why do all of this? Since the beginning, since the time of Buddha, a lot of emphasis has been given on the trusting to take up the spiritual path. Even if the term taking refuge, we assimilate it, we associate it to something specifically Buddhist, but that's not actually right. We all take refuge constantly. Buddha already transmitted that we take refuge in Buddha Dharma and Sangha, but taking refuge, this act of entrusting something something that will help us get out of a state of suffering. I mean, this is something we all do regularly. Have you ever entrusted yourself to a medicine to relieve suffering, or a good dish to free yourself from hunger, or a warm jacket to free yourself from cold, or a good friend to protect us from solitude, from loneliness? Naturally, in our lives, we learn, even, I mean, from a very, very young age, we learn to trust and to trust in something. It's also the basis of relationships. When there is a reciprocal trust that allows for so much to be done. If there's trust between us, I mean, some things go well, some things they don't go as well, some things don't correspond to the expectations we have. But if there's a mutual respect and mutual trust, then we can overcome any type of difficulty. So I'd say more than trusting correctly our spiritual guide and the method that we apply, and our own abilities. I mean, this is important for everything. I mean, for example, to take a bus. Would you get onto a bus if you didn't trust the driver? I wouldn't. It's already happened to me that I've gotten into a car with someone, and then afterwards, then I say, okay, I'm never getting in the car with this person. I mean, nothing against the person. I love this person very much, but not a good. I trust this person for other things, but not as a driver. So having trust and trusting someone is fundamental. We don't have control over everything. If I get on a bus, I trust who's driving. If I get on a plane, I trust who's flying the plane. If I go to a restaurant, I trust the cook and I trust the waiter to bring me what I've ordered. So we naturally trust others. I go to a lawyer. I trust that lawyer to give me the right responses so that I can navigate correctly in this ocean of legal matters. But so trusting someone, entrusting ourselves to someone, tempa is the word. Then tempa means that which sustains and that which is sustained. It's the act of relying. So it's like saying, I have something that upholds. So if I sit on a chair, that chair is holding me up. I'm trusting this chair. I'm sure it's happened to everyone to trust a chair that was not worthy of such trust, was not trustworthy. So this act of trusting doesn't mean losing freedom. I mean, it's something absolutely normal. It's something that we do on so many levels, and we can't do without. Someone who doesn't have the ability to trust lives in paranoia and fear, as if he's constantly imagining, oh, maybe this is going to happen, maybe that's going to happen. Okay, maybe before sitting on this chair, I need to check and make sure it's stable. If I go to a restaurant, I need to check out the kitchen. I mean, I need to see everything because I don't have this trust. I've seen sometimes someone goes to the doctor and you don't really, you go to a doctor and you don't really trust the doctor. So maybe you end up going to 4 different doctors and you take what you like of each one. Just a short time ago, when we were in Mongolia, at a certain point, there was someone who wasn't well. Just that one time, this Brazilian girl, there were many doctors around her. Was his only doctor, the only trip with so many doctors, and it was nothing serious. And one of the doctors told a kind of joke, said, when when Julius Caesar died, when he was about to die, he was poisoned, and they said, let's call the doctors. And then as someone said, well, we've poisoned him, why should we call the doctor? And the answer was, because if you so he said, let's call the doctors. And he said, well, why should we call doctors? We poisoned him. Well, because if we call one doctor, he'll save him. If we call many doctors, for sure he'll die. So it's important to unite knowledge, but also have one coherent line. So if I don't trust a doctor very well, what happens? I do the part that I think is most convenient to me, or that I like the most. But then I go to another doctor. Then I take the part that attracts me. From his prescriptions, without telling the doctors that I'm going to more than one doctor. I mean, of course, doing like this, we're harming ourselves. Instead, we need transparency, because maybe each doctor can see a different aspect of what we need, and they could even work together. But I need to trust fully. I think that if I'm not well, I need to go to many doctors until I find one that I really trust. And once I trust that doctor, then I really follow. For me, for example, it's happened to me that I've been to a doctor and then I haven't followed the treatment because I didn't feel, from on my side, I didn't perceive a condition which is fundamental for me on the part of the doctor. If I go to a doctor, I need to feel that that person cares about my well-being, that I'm not just a number, or just waiting, for the next patient to come. It's happened to me one time in particular, and I felt a strong indifference. And I didn't take anything that he prescribed me. And I went to another doctor. Before we trust someone fully, we need to see different possibilities. But once we find one that we think is right, then we need to trust. So in Buddhism, when we talk about the taking of refuge, the concept is that naturally, in our lifetime, we want to get away from certain things, and we entrust ourselves into others. So this taking of refuge means there's something that I want to take refuge from, and there are things that I want to take refuge in. I'm hungry. I take refuge from hunger in food. This is one example. We could give 1,000 different examples. What changes mostly is what we're taking refuge from. This is a fundamental point. Because if I want to take refuge from boredom, I can take refuge in a good friend, someone I can have fun with. So I take refuge in that. If I want to take refuge from a sickness, in a certain sickness, I'm going to look for a doctor who specialized in that type of sickness. At the basis of taking a refuge in Buddhism, it starts from a fundamental principle of wanting to get out of one's own cycle of suffering, recognizing that all permeating suffering is suffering. So if you understand, you understand. If you don't, you don't. What does it mean? This is a principle that my happiness and my suffering depend mostly from my inner state of being and not on external conditions. But without taking anything away from those external conditions. But I can have everything and more. But if I have a lot of fear and anxiety and jealousy and anger, I'll be unhappy wherever I go. we're made of habits, and to be able to diminish those inner conditionings that are harmful, the so-called mental defilements, and increase our positive qualities, we need training. And to do this, we need someone who can show us what to do, what direction to take, and gives me the valid tools to do this. Because if I go to a doctor and the doctor doesn't heal us, cure us. A good doctor gives us a correct diagnosis and gives us the right healing treatment. But then it's up to us to follow. If I go to a doctor and say, you're wonderful, I've been to you 10 times, but I'm still sick. Did you take the medicine? No. Did you stop these negative behaviors? No. And this is the frustration of many doctors, actually, because many patients take the medicine as long as they have symptoms, but then they stop, and then when they come back, they don't take it again. So, at the basis, what do I want to avoid? What do I want to take refuge from? I want to avoid this psychophysical state of mental defilements and the cycle of mental defilements and karma. When I really recognize that I can't stand to be taken by this obsession of self-gratification and taken by all these negative minds like jealousy and envy and arrogance, etc. Once I say really enough, I want to be well in harmony with myself, with myself and with others, regardless of where I am, with whom I am, and the situation I find myself in. I want to be in peace with myself and my present, my past, and with my future. I want to live the present harmoniously. I want to be in harmony with others. To do this, I need to cultivate inner qualities. I need to develop love and generosity, humility, awareness, wisdom, etc. And to do this, I need help. I need help because, first of all, we need someone who's already done it, who has at least done a few steps more than me, and who's able to transmit it in the right way. When we go looking for a doctor, for example, what do we do normally? What do you do to find a good doctor? Maybe you go to a hospital, or you talk to someone who's had a similar sickness, and or we trust titles. That person is a doctor specialized in this, that, and the other, and we trust this system. Along the spiritual path, there are titles, but personally, I don't trust these titles. So that someone is called Lama means a lot and means nothing at the same time. I say that it's not because someone has the name Lama, myself included, it's not because he has the name Lama that one should trust him or her. Even Buddha said, before you trust what I say, you need to do as you do when you go to buy gold. You need to cut it. You need to burn it. You need to scratch it to see if it's real or not. And the same thing should be done with my teachings. And once you see that they're true, put them into practice. Over the centuries, and 10 qualities that were established for someone to correctly guide us. So if I go, for example, to a doctor, he needs to understand teeth. I don't care if he understands finance, high finance. if I go to someone who guides me with along my spiritual path, he needs to be someone, or she needs to be someone, a person who has a level that's better than mine, higher than mine, is, can put into practice morality, wisdom, and morality, concentration, and wisdom. I recognize that he has a good ability to maintain his own commitments and avoid what's harmful, has a good ability to direct his mind in concentration, has a good ability to have a view that corresponds to reality. Someone who has a good knowledge of the teachings, who's able to transmit them to me so that I can understand them in a way that I can understand them, that he has a good knowledge, a good understanding of the correct view of reality, and is able to transmit that to me in a way that I can understand. And as a minimum, he has more spiritual qualities than I do, and that puts into practice what he teaches, that there's correspondence, coherence between what he teaches and what he lives. Those are two characteristics. So he is what he transmits, and then puts effort into actually putting it all into practice. Ideally, this person is an example of love and wisdom and compassion. At the very minimum, should show effort in putting into practice the path. Should be someone who has love towards me, someone who cares deeply about my happiness. These are the main characteristics of a spiritual guide, and there are more, but the minimum of minimum is that he needs to know, or she needs to know more than me. When we trust someone, in Tibetan it said, Sangye kyap tumpopo chu, which means the Buddha or the Guru is he or she who concedes refuge. The Dharma is the actual refuge, and the Sangha, the spiritual company, is the help along the path, the support along the path. So the real refuge is not the doctor. If I'm following a healing treatment, it's the actual medicine. It's taking the medicine, it's doing the exercises. But to do that, I need someone who can prescribe all that, and those who help me. So he who gives us the Dharma, gives us the blessings, who guides us, who's called Buddha, and Buddha Shakyamuni left his body over the centuries past, but he left this responsibility to disciples. At least this is what has been told to us. I will be present for those who want to follow this path through those who will be there to transmit. And this is the same for all types of Buddhism, Theravada, Zen, Japanese. When we're in front of he who guides us, who coherently according to what Buddha taught, then that it's so Buddha and Guru are the same. The Guru represents the Buddha. The Dharma is the actual refuge. It's the teachings are the indications of the Dharma. So actually we take refuge when we sit down to meditate, when we put into practice the actual teachings, and we change our mind. When do we, when do we take refuge in medicine? When we buy it at the pharmacy and put it in the on the shelf? No, when we take it. And when we take refuge, actually, when we sit to meditate and we apply the teachings in our daily life, that's when we're really taking the medicine of the Dharma. So it's there are those also who still need to go to the pharmacy. They're listening. They're listening to the teachings, but actually taking refuge is about practicing. And our spiritual community, even in so the word Sangha is company, spiritual company. It's a spiritual company. So he's saying it's la Sangha instead of il Sangha. Is a grammatical difference. In Italian, and in his mind, it's feminine. Even though grammatically it's not so correct to say la Sangha. But when we start taking refuge, first we take refuge, we trust the Guru, and then we trust the Dharma, and then we trust the Sangha. We say, oh, Namo Guru Bhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, but really entrusting ourselves. There's that first moment where that tendency is, I entrust myself to someone. Please take away my suffering. And Guru was looking at us and said, if I could. That, like this story that I've told a couple of times. I was in Tibet in this calm region of Chatran. I was with Lama Ganshin, and there was also the abbot of the monastery of Chatran. And when we would go from one village to another, maybe it was half an hour by car, but we'd need 3 hours because all the people of the village were in line, making just a huge line on the side of the street to receive the blessings. And so the car would go very, very slowly, and Lama Ganshin would touch the head of each person. At a certain point, there were these old people, and in Tibetan they would say, also dialect, which means they would say, don't send me to hell. Don't let me go to hell. They were saying, there's this tendency to say this, and they didn't even really understand what they're saying. And the abbot would jokingly say, if you are not, on your way to go, I'm not going to send you there. In the sense that the meaning is, no one has the power to keep someone from harm, really. He can interact with that person, but can't do for you. Can interact physically, energetically, verbally, but at the end of the day, we ourselves, we take our own decisions. So the function of the spiritual guide is to direct and to bless. And here I'll try to explain it simply. There are two main roles that are different roles, and they can be fulfilled by the same person or not. One is a teacher, and the other one is a spiritual guide. So the function of a teacher is to transmit knowledge. The one who teaches us, it's important. I have so much respect. It's someone who transmits knowledge. It's someone that I trust to give me information. The function of a spiritual guide, instead, it's different. It has the function of blessing. What's a blessing? To understand a little bit well what a blessing is, let's imagine that we're next to someone who's very angry. I'm sure that's happened to everyone. When we're near someone who's very, very angry or jealous or whatever it is, are we influenced or not? we feel something, our state of mind, our inner state of being is influenced by that, we can say that we're receiving his blessings. Obviously, it's like the upside down. It's the opposite of what a blessing should be. It's an interaction that brings a positive transformation. That's what a blessing is. It can come through the speech, through the presence, through an image, through a touch, through a smell or sound. It can come in an infinite number of ways, but it's an interaction that exists that helps me to have more clarity, to loosen inner knots that normally I'm just not able to untighten. And there are sacred places, for example, when you go there naturally, that interacting with that place leads us to feel more peace, see things with more clarity. I mean, there are these kinds of characteristics of these holy places, and if we're in the presence of someone who is highly developed, it has a lot of love or compassion, I'm influenced that way. Someone who is strongly under the influence of anger, we feel that too. So a spiritual guide influences us positively along this path that we're following in a non-conceptual way. So, and the best way for there to give blessings is to be in the presence of someone who actually represents that developed mind, like love. I want to be in the presence of someone who is love, who is compassion. So whether we're talking about a teacher or a spiritual guide, we need trust. And we need to be able to entrust ourselves. But with a spiritual guide, that trust is deeper. There's a relationship of love, of real love, in the sense that we want the happiness of the other. The happiness of each other is important. So there's this trust. I trust you because I know that whatever you do, you will do it to the best of your ability for my well-being. Is that clear? This is the basis of the trust, the basis of this relationship. It's a relationship of love, of trust, of transparency, of truth, and it's a relationship that is established immediately in certain cases. But over time, it just gets deeper and deeper, where we allow ourselves to be loved without the fear of being judged. We allow ourselves to be loved without the fear of being judged. We have this tendency to look to deserve someone's love. Do we show that we're good, that we don't do anything wrong? We try to show all of this because we need to deserve this love. And here, no, it's not like that. At the basis, there's I love you and you love me. There's a reciprocal love, a mutual love that goes beyond judgment. Whatever it is, whatever you be the way you are, I still love you. What's interesting is when we allow ourselves to be loved by someone beyond judgment, that allows ourselves to love ourselves without judgment, and that is an enormous power. These are things that, little by little one understands. I'm trying to give you the essence of what it means to take refuge, more than the technical part. That's easy. You can find that written in so many places. But deeply, it's a relationship from heart to heart. Around me, I've had more than I've had many masters. Some who have given me teachings, like specific teachings on philosophical aspects, meditational aspects. I've had teachers like Lama Michel Rinpoche, who guided me on every aspect of my life, and so, and with whom and who I trusted fully. So, how many spiritual guides should we have? People ask. Well, if we're at the beginning and we're not actually entrusting ourselves in the Dharma, but more to the person. We have this idea, okay, I put myself in your hands, do what you want with me. It's not the right way, but sometimes I joke saying there's some people who they're not really Buddhist, but they're Rinpocheistas. They're there for the Guru, they're there for the Lama, not actually for Buddhism. I've seen this. It's quite normal, but this process of being more mature is when we trust the Dharma and entrust ourselves to the Dharma, which doesn't mean that we're not trusting the Guru anymore, but there's more stable. When we start entrusting ourselves to the Dharma, in addition to the Guru, the more spiritual guide one has, the better it is. Lama Tsongkhapa himself, one of the most important masters, and the founder of the Gelugpa tradition, here represented to my right, he had more than 100 masters, and many actually became his own disciples. That's another aspect. We can have more than one master, because some people come to me and say, I received this teaching from this master, but for me, the way I received the teachings from Lama Michel Rinpoche, everyone is free to receive as many teachings as possible. But as Atisha said, respect deeply all the spiritual traditions, but follow the one that you choose. So, which doesn't keep me from taking a little bit here and taking a little bit there, adding things from other traditions. But I have a main line that I follow. I would follow the tradition I prefer, that works best for me. So what I believe, I'm not here to save anyone. If I could, I would. I'm here to walk together. I had a great, it's not luck is not the right word, but I can't think of another word, to have had a marvelous masters, a good predisposition to learn the Dharma, ability to and the opportunity to study and to learn. So I'm going in this direction, and who wants to come? Let's walk together. I haven't completely gotten there, but some steps we've taken, and then as we're walking together, if someone gets there first, okay, then give me a hand and help me. There are many stories of a disciple reaching enlightenment before his teacher. But it's in the stories. Even after having reached enlightenment, one goes back, and with the same humility and gratitude, one maintains that respect and love towards one's teacher. So this is our relationship. It's based on love and trust and transparency. some time ago when someone asked me, rightly so, at the center in Brazil, someone said, but look at Lama, we want to do something special for the people who help the center economically. It's fundamental. It's not that you could give a teaching or something special for this group of people. I said, no. Why? It was a simple fact that there's nothing that I can give in one context and not in another. I mean, I'm already giving it. That's not that, it's not something that I'm holding back. Like in Tibet, for example, it was common in different contexts, different artisans, they wouldn't give the secret. So, for example, making the tip of the hat, the seamstress would not show anyone else, would send everyone away. But here, there are no secrets. The more people who understand and realize, the happier I am. So it's a sharing that is open and total. At the same time, as I said at the beginning, it's a process of entrusting ourselves. The more reciprocal trust there is, the more we're able to walk together. And now we're going to formalize the taking of refuge. It's not only the act and trust towards our spiritual guide or guides. It's an act of deep trust and love towards ourselves. Or we say, I trust my ability to reach that state of peace, to get beyond my own suffering. It's an act of love also towards others, but I do this because I want to help others. But how can I show when I'm not able to see? First, I need to reach a state of peace and then help others reach that same peace. So at the basis of refuge, there's all of this and more. But I wanted, first of all, to give you a little bit the essence. Once we take refuge, you take it in your own heart. It's not something formal. It comes a little bit like falling in love. It comes to the deepest part of our being. When you fall in love, whether you declare it or not, you formalize that love or not. But when you fall in love, you fall in love, and it can come like love at first sight, or it could come gradually. I'd say that in the process of taking refuge, one thing is trusting a teacher. Another thing is trusting a spiritual guide, a guru. And I don't want to say that one of the characteristics that are fundamental and necessary so you need to be in love. I don't know how many times I've gone, I've been in a face-to-face with one of my with a spiritual guide, with a teacher, and I just don't know what to say. I remember one friend said when he was president of the Kumpen Lama Ganshin Association in Milan. Sometimes he'd be very angry and he wanted to discuss, and he'd go to Lama Ganshin, and then he just would forget everything, and he was there a little bit. Like there was kind of magic was happening. It happens in many contexts, actually. Like once, for example, I remember in Milan, I was invited together with Lama Ganshin for lunch. I was invited for lunch with some friends, together with the CEO of an important Italian company, and he was really a little almost polemic in the sense he's just full of questions. And Lama Ganchen said, "No, you answer for me." And then at the end, he asked me, "What relationship do you have with Lama Ganchen?" I said, "He's my master. He's my spiritual guide." And he said, "Well, you've already learned so much. Why do you still need a guide, the master?" And it was really without words, because if you don't get it, you don't get it. But there Lama Ganchen intervened, and he said, I can't remember the specific words, but it was something like, the relationship that exists between the master and disciple is deeper than the love that you can feel in a couple, or also from parents to a child. And this man was really touched, and he said, "Oh, so we're talking about the relationship." The relationship of master and disciple, like at the time of Socrates. I mean, this is the reference that he had, and he was really touched. It's something that needs to be cultivated, because one thing is entrusting ourselves to someone that's for this life, and then there's it's something else if we entrust ourselves to someone that entails also. It's a relationship that goes from life to life. My personal experience is that there's situations, people that when we meet them, there's a kind of deja vu. We don't know why, but we trust them. This life, I had this with Lama Ganchen Rinpoche. From my good luck, I've had this also with Kyabshe Chizha Rinpoche, the reincarnation of Lama Ganchen's root guru, who lives now in Vermont, in the United States. And I saw him more or less the first time that I saw him, and I remember this really deep feeling, spontaneous feeling of joy to being in his presence, and of total trust. And this is something that's really difficult to put into words. It's developed gradually and deeply. But there's a but. When we take a refuge, one needs to be very sure, because what's not good along our path, it's not good to entrust, to take refuge and then have doubts. When we start having doubts, then we pollute that process, and then at a certain point it just breaks. That's why before we entrust ourselves to someone, we need to have total trust. We need to try again, wait, be sure, really be sure that we can trust. And so entrusting ourselves to the guru is not, I trust you. I put myself in your hands. Do with me what you want. No, it's not that. It's showing me what I can do, and specifically related to the spiritual path. I think this is quite clear, isn't it? So for this, for a long time, I would formalize the taking of refuge with very few people after them asking me like 25 times. But then it became difficult to organize. So I established to have the taking of refuge sort of regularly. And I've opened this up to everyone. So it's not a secret ceremony for those who come and to take part into something secret. No, everyone can partake, but it should be actually taken by those who are fully convinced, if you have that certainty, if that certainty of wanting to entrust yourself into the Dharma, and in this context of from the Galupa tradition, the Buddhist tradition, as taught by Lama Tsongkhapa, as it's come to me. If you have already that certainty, let's say that kind of refuge, you already have that. I mean, we can on the, if you don't have that, you can formalize it in many ways, but you don't actually have refuge. But on my side, the reason why I'm here in all moments, like the teachings this morning, the reason why I'm here is because I trust you. I have trust in you. I trust your intention, your direction, your ability to be able to transform yourself and to put into practice what I share with you. If not for this, I assure you that I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. Doing everything we're doing to keep this Dharma center afloat. We're here to try to create the conditions so that everyone can fully put into practice all the teachings, and I fully trust you without judgment. Once Trungpa Rinpoche, someone went to Trungpa Rinpoche, someone who had taken refuge, and he said, "Oh, Rinpoche, I killed a man." And very direct and in Tibetan and calm, he said in this calm dialect, he said, "Okay, I'll help you face this. I accompany you. It's not okay. Now you're not worthy. No, go to the back of the line or get out. No." So I repeat, it's not easy. It's not obvious, but for us to allow ourselves to love without judgment, and to allow ourselves to be loved without the fear of judgment. It's something that's possible, and it's part of this path. So the part of the ceremony, the formalization, is really quite brief, and we're going to do now. I invite those who would like to take refuge. You can follow. Those who don't want to take refuge, you can stay, no problem. But the last thing I want is someone to feel forced. Don't think, oh, well, everyone's doing it, I'm not doing it. No. One of the great qualities that this place has, that Lama Ganchen Rinpoche gave, and we can give continuity to this, is that here we have a context where everyone can be himself or herself. This is something very important, and we're here all with sincerity. So, oh, I didn't take refuge, so I didn't show respect. No, it's disrespectful if you do it just as a formality. I remember when we have this summer camp, one of the greatest compliments that we had as a center was at least 3 times these different kids, even smaller ones in adolescence, who said, "When I come to the center, this is the only place where I feel like I can be myself." That means so much to me. And to be oneself, also respecting others. So now we will formalize the taking of refuge. And what's important is, as we do it, I'll give indications and you follow. What you have deep in your heart is already there. If someone is not sure, then just wait. If someone is if someone's not sure because they're unsure if they're worthy, then yes, you are worthy. But if you're not sure about the path, then take your time. Remember, in in the past, in antique times, ancient times, before taking refuge in a spiritual guide, one needed to have experience with that person for 12 years, and only after 12 years one would actually take refuge. So there's no hurry. It's not it's something that you need to do. Instead, if you've already taken refuge and you want to renew your refuge vows today, of course you can. And if you want to do it for the first time too, that's fine. Those who will take refuge for the first time, you'll be given a name, and the name represents being reborn in a spiritual family, which of course does not negate at all one's own biological family or the name represents the qualities that we need to cultivate. So there's a system where the name is completely different for each person, and then there's another system where we use one name, and then like a surname, let's say a family name. And so I use the name Champa. So use a part of, I have many names, but I use also the word Champa, which means great love. If you already have been given a name, then if you have already been given a name, then you don't need another name. It's happened unless it's some very extreme reasons that can happen. I remember once someone really insisted on having another name. They really didn't like the name that they had. So I said, okay. But then I ended up giving the same name that they had already had. So if you do want to take refuge this time, you can stand up and make 3 prostrations. This is a sign of request and of respect. You sit in the position of request, which is you sit down. Here, I'll show you, just to show you how the position is. So essentially you sit like this. You're sitting with your left knee up, and you can be seated on your right heel. So if that's very uncomfortable, you can say seated in a chair. And so for centuries, this is the position that was used for making requests. So imagine above me, there is my own root guru, Lama Michel Rinpoche. Above him is his root guru, Kyabshe Dorje Trishan Dorje Chang, Kyabshe Trishan Dorje Chang, and then above him is Pabonka Rinpoche, all the way to Lama Tsongkhapa, and then to Buddha Shakyamuni. Observe yourself. Everyone observes himself, and we recognize within a deep desire for peace, a deep desire to be in harmony with ourselves and with others. We recognize that there's no other way to be at peace than to develop our own qualities, overcome our mental defilements, and reach inner peace. Because when we look around, we see so much suffering in the world. And the only way for there to be peace is therefore to be inner peace. So we desire deeply, deeply to reach a state of inner peace so that we can help others do the same. To reach inner peace, I need first of all to be guided. I take refuge in the Buddha, in the Guru. who shows me the path, who guides me with affection, with love. I take refuge in the Dharma, the path, the actual path. And I take refuge in the Sangha, the spiritual path, during my path. So from the depth of my heart, I ask for help. We entrust ourselves fully to Guru, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. From the heart of Buddha Shakyamuni, light rays emanate from his heart, representing this uninterrupted link of love and trust, with all of the masters, that from me all the way up to Buddha Shakyamuni. From my heart, there's this. So from my heart, light rays emanate, representing this deep trust and love. So with the intention of entrusting ourselves correctly to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, to relying correctly on our Guru with a deep sense of love and trust, repeat the request of the taking of refuge after me.
Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami. Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. Dutyam Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Dutyam Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami. Dutyam Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. Tirtiyam Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Tirtiyam Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami. Tirtiyam Sangam Sharanam Gacchami.
The light rays absorb into you as you receive this refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha.
Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Gurubhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Gurubhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Triratnaya, Sangye Chödam, Tsogi Chonamla, Chanchu Pardo, Dani Kyapsuchi, Dagi Jinsok, Gibe Sonamgi, Drola Pincher, Sangye Drubrsho, Nel Buddha nel Dharma.
In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment with the practice of generosity, morality, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. May I obtain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment with the practice of generosity, morality, patience, enthusiastic effort, concentration, and wisdom. May I obtain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha.
Now I will ask you to Tabino, which means this is the method, this is the path, and you answer Lexo, which means excellent. And then I'll snap my fingers, and at that moment, the taking of refuge has been formalized. So I ask you Tabino, and you answer Lexo. Now you can sit normally. And let's take the refuge together with the conclusion of Guru Yoga practice. So visualize. So as you take refuge, concentrate your feelings, this deep feeling of affection and trust, love towards Guru Buddha, towards the Dharma, to the Sangha, with a deep commitment to follow this path, to put the Dharma into practice in your daily life, and to transform your activities of body, speech, and mind. And as we recite the taking of refuge, visualize that from my 5 chakras, light rays emanate white, red, blue, yellow, and green in color that absorb into your respective chakras from your crown, throat, heart, navel, and secret chakra. These light rays bring refuge. They purify your negativities and revitalize your qualities.
Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sangha, Namo Gurubhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Sanghaya, Namo Gurubhye, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Triratnaya. Sangye Chedan Tsoki Chonamla Chancho Parto Dani Kyapsochi Dagi Jinso Gipe Sonam Kim Drola Penchir Sangye Druparsho Sangye Chedan Tsoki Chonamla Chanchu Parto Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gipe Sonam Ki Drola Penchir Sangye Druparsho Sangye Chedan Tsoki Chonamla Chanchu Parto Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gipe Sonam Kim Penchir Sangye Druparsho.
In the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. With the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I obtain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha.
Guru Buddha Shakyamuni absorbs into his disciples, and gradually each master of the lineage absorbs into the next until getting to Pabonka Dechen Nimpo, who absorbs into Kyabshe Trijang Dorje Chang, who absorbs into Lama Michel Rinpoche, and then he joyously descends through my crown and sits at my heart, just the way a candle is lit. One candle can light another. Then these blessings from this uninterrupted lineage blesses also you. So an emanation comes from my heart and sits on your crown, sitting in the same direction, and then descends joyously down your central channel and sits at a lotus flower at your heart, and your body, speech, and mind become inseparable from the body, speech, and mind of Guru Buddha. So you allow yourselves for a moment to go beyond your own ordinary appearance to experience being Guru Buddha. To an infinite inner space, unconditional love, total harmony with everything and every being.
Lama Rinpoche Dagi Chiwara Pede Tenshola Kadrin Chimba Gone Jesunte Kusun Tugi Ngodruba Tsedu So Panden Tsawe Lama Rinpoche Dagi Drimbra Pede Tenshola Kadrin Chimba Gone Jesunte Chodan Tumong Ngodruba Tsedu So Panden Tsawe Lama Rinpoche Dagi Ninkar Pede Tenshola Kadrin Chimba Gone Jesunte Janchu Nimba Pardo Tempara Shu Pakyuke Kudan Dagi Lu Pakyuke Sungdan Dagi Nga Pakyuke Tukdan Dagi Yi Ten Yerme Chiktu Chingi Lo Makyuke Kudan Dagi Lu Makyuke Sungdan Dagi Nga Makyuke Tukdan Dagi Yi Ten Yerme Chiktu Chingi Lo.
Guru Buddha stays joyously at our hearts. He accompanies us in our daily lives. stays with us in every choice that we make, every word that we say, every thought that we have. Now it's time for the dedications.
Munsel tato ne gyur chi nimo dele nime kuyan delek shin insen taktu delek pe koncho sumke chingi lob koncho sumke ngodrubutsol koncho sumke trashishon.
At dawn or at dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. In this way, we conclude the taking of refuge. I invite you to keep it alive every day. We need to remember and keep this contact alive, remembering also that one of the best things that we can do for this world that we live in is be coherent with the desire for the world that we want. So we take refuge in the Dharma. One of the vows, maybe it's a little bit too late now, but one of the commitments of the taking of refuge is when you take one of the commitments of taking refuge in the Dharma is to abandon all violence, the ahimsa. This is one of the commitments because the basis of Dharma is avoiding violence. So let's remember this and let's try to do our part. And when we're doing our part, we're automatically doing something for others. So I thank you. I thank you for your trust, for walking together, not just now, but always, as Rinpoche would say, see you sometimes, see you every moment. We see you sometimes, see you every moment. This is not just a way, of saying or something mystical. It's the fact that what makes two people close is that their hearts, their minds are going in the same direction, and that's where we are, and we're much closer than you can often imagine. And for those who have taken refuge for the first time, you will now be given the name. So, and if someone who needs to give a quick greeting, that's fine too. I mean, there's so many things that could be said, but it's mostly that. It's something very profound that happens, and we allow ourselves to experience that. And remember, it's not, you don't do it just once. It's something that needs to be renovated. It needs to be renewed, and it becomes deeper and deeper. And if at any moment you find a little bit of a doubt or something, that's part of the process. What's important is being true to ourselves so that we can be true with others, and little by little we get there. So that's it. Thank you, those who stay. I will see you tomorrow morning at 8:30. For those who don't come often, they say, "Oh, but I follow all the time online." But now there's the there's the camera here, and I can imagine who's behind. Of course, I'm happy to see you face to face, to be face to face, but I also connected to those who are watching from afar through a screen. So that's it. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you. We'll see you always. So if you'd like to come, so he who. If you've taken refuge for the first time, just say so, because I can't always remember who's taken refuge.